Welcome back to Fox 10 News at 4. You know, when tragedy strikes, it can be difficult to talk with your children about it. So we're going to dive into the conversation to help you now, getting some advice on how to navigate these conversations when it comes to helping your child get through traumatic events. We have a child psychiatrist here, Dr. Jonathan Todd. Thank you for stopping by.
Thanks for having me.
You know, we called you in light of our top story of the day, and that's the investigation that is going on in Belfort, where police are investigating what they're describing as a murder-suicide. And I asked you if it is necessary to bring up events like this, or should you just not introduce your child to that? And you said...
Yeah, I think it's a necessary conversation. You know, unfortunately, I mean, a story like this, your kids are going to hear about it, right? Yeah. Whether it's from social media, whether it's from their friends, they're going to hear things, and they may hear things in a way that maybe you wouldn't want them to hear it, right? And so I think it's important to get out ahead of things. Have a conversation with your kids, a direct conversation where you're an open book and you talk a little bit about what you know to be true, right? So sitting your child down and asking them what do they know, what have they heard, allowing them to ask questions so you're not overwhelming them with information, and being really direct about your answers too. Unambiguous language, that's the key. We're talking about death, and we can't really dance around that word. Dying means something, right? And that might bring up bigger conversations about what that word means depending on the age of the child, right? It's a very different conversation with someone who's younger versus a teenager, for example. So having those direct conversations, asking questions, and sometimes saying, I don't know, if you don't have an answer, right? That's really important too. But you want to make sure you're doing that in a way that helps kids be able to share their feelings, because they're having big feelings about it. We all are, right? And so you want to normalize those feelings and share maybe a little bit about how it affects you, right? It's normal to feel sad. It's normal to feel angry, hurt, scared, frightened, right? And so by sharing a little bit about how it makes you feel, it can also sort of validate the way that they feel and help them feel kind of comforted in a way.
Is that a good starting point? I know different traumatic cases are going to have different conversations that are necessary, but do you start with trying to put yourself in their shoes?
I wouldn't say necessarily putting yourself in their shoes, but normalizing the fact that we are all affected by tragedy. Sometimes I think as a parent, your tendency would be to maybe hide or minimize the way you feel. Well, just to hide that scary things are sometimes scary, right? And you want to be sort of tough for your kids in a way, but kids are feeling frightened, and they need to know that they're not alone in that fear, right? It is normal to feel scared when these scary things happen, right? And so having that conversation, and then also reassuring your kids that, hey, this did happen, it is scary, but you're safe. This is a rare event, but we're here to protect you, your family's here to protect you, your community is, the police are, we're here, sort of to make sure this doesn't happen. So reassure, but also validate.
Talk to me about the warning signs when you're looking at your son and your daughter. How do you know when they, in turn, need help?
Yeah, it's a great question. And so while it's normal to feel sad, there are things that maybe wouldn't be normal, right? And what we would normally consider not normal is when kids are not really recovering. Maybe they're not eating well, they're not sleeping well, they're withdrawing socially from their peers or from their family. Academically, they're not doing as well as you would hope, or maybe they're even talking about scarier things like suicide. All those things are big warning flags, and you need to get professional help at that point.
Dr. Todd, thank you.
No problem.
Really appreciate this insight, and I know our parents will as well.